Shijuku-chan, along with the voice before she noticed 10 shining barriers were created and protected her. And within those, there were also the lights which cut in between the Nia and Eri that busted out. Should it have been called the barrier burst or something, it was a technique which makes the magical power contained within the barrier go out of control and burst out light as well as letting loose the remains of the barrier. Eri immediately covered her face with both her arms, but she was blown back after flinching due to the bright light which caused her to lose her balance as the remains of the barrier rammed into her. Nia, who was holding down Shizuku, was also similarly blown back. Although she immediately got back up to try to restrain Shizuku, before that a rope of light grew out from the ground and bounded her. Shizuku was completely dumbfounded at the current situation and turned towards the boys which called out her name. And from within the gaps of the knights who were surrounding them, she caught on the appearance of her best friend which shouldn't be here. It was not an illusion. Kyori was definitely looking at the Shizuku with grief expression. Surely, with the sight of Shizuku and everyone else's tragic state, being able to just barely make it in time has allowed her eyes to loosen up in relief. Kaori? Shizuku-chan, wait for a bit. I'll help you right away. Kaori's voice sounded out desperately towards Shizuku and them, who were suddenly surrounded by soldiers, and she appeared from the entrance of the plaza. Then she quickly started chanting full recovery magic. It was the first class recovery magic of the light system sacred text. From her classmates' current condition and the situation, she judged that she should quickly heal all the members. Why are you here? You guys sure are set on getting in my way. Eri gave out the orders to the knights as her face distorted in anger. The knights all attacked Kaori together in order to stop her chant. However, Kaori was not heard. The sword that the knights were wielding were stopped by a barrier of light. Everyone, what exactly had happened? Return to your senses. Eri, what exactly does this mean? Having protected Kaori, who was chanting the first class recovery magic, Liliana soon appeared right behind Kaori. A spear like barrier wrapped around Kaori and herself in order to defend themselves. Liliana was extremely confused as the situation was that the knights and the soldier were trying to kill Kyoki and them, and they were also following Eri's commands. While placing up the barrier, she called out to question Eri. However, Eri wasn't listening at all. Ririna's techniques was definitely of the higher class, being able to cover the entire caravan in the barrier and holding out against the attacks of over the 140 bandits. That's why, even if the knights delivered severe attacks with their limiters removed, it was definitely capable of holding out until Kiori's chant was finished. And because Eri understood that, her expression showed impatience. Gee, it can't be helped, I guess. Was it because of impatience? Eri gave up on turning her classmates into puppets and decided to kill them all before they were healed. Then, at that time, suddenly before Ririana's eyes, one of the knights who brandished his swords against the barrier was beheaded and collapsed onto the ground. The one who appeared behind the fallen knights was Daisuke Hiyama. Shirasaki, Princess Ririana, are you alright? Hiyama-san? With such an awful wound, you? Ririana's face turned pale as she saw Hiyama's state. Although her chant wasn't interrupted, Kyori's eyes were opened widely. That was to be expected as Hiyama's chest was drenched in blood. No matter how you looked at it, he was desperately and recklessly tried to escape from the restraint. He shook violently and staggered. Ririana quickly removed the part of the barrier and allowed Hiyama, who had placed his hands on the barrier, inside. With a thump, Hiyama fell down. However, in that moment, Shizuku's impassioned shout resounded out. Don't get away from him! She warned them desperately while vomiting out blood. Shizuku had noticed. Why was only Hiyama able to break through the restraint when Kyoki couldn't even, and whom the person that Eri talked about who wanted Kyori? It was clear that Ririana's barrier would stay in place until Kyori's chant was finished. Despite all that, the only person who pretended to help out. क्या Shizuku's warning was not on time. Ririana's barrier had disappeared. What was seen there was the appearance of Ririana, who was embracing Kyori's back closely, who had knocked down onto the ground, and a sword ran out through Kyori's chest. Kyori! Shizuku's scream echoed out. With an crazed look in his eyes, Hiyama had embraced Kyori's back closely with his face buried onto her neck. What was in his hand behind Kyori's was obviously a sword which pierced through her heart. Hiyama was never injured in the first place. He had been pretending while preparing in case that Kyoki's explosive powers as a hero allows him to break free. And although he was surprised at Kyori and Ririana's appearance, he judged that at the rate things are going, Kyoki and them would be healed and decided to act. He finally, I have finally obtained it. As expected. I am better than Nagumo. Yeah, that's right. Nah, Shira. No, Kaori. Nah, Gihi. Oi, Nakamura, hurry up already. The contract. Ari shrugged her shoulder towards the Hiyama's words, and in order to place bind soul onto the Kaori, she approached. Right afterwards, a scream resounded out loudly. Ga! You guys! Kyoki was desperately trying to break out of the restraint, even his body cracked as his anger was at its boiling point. He had thought that Kyori had been killed and seems to have lost himself. The cracks on the 5 magic ceiling shackles begins to gradually grow larger. It was an extraordinary strength, however, it was still not enough to be released from the knight's restraint. Then, as Hiyama relaxed as he saw that, a voice muttered could be heard in his ear. A low voice muttered, a low muttered voice could be heard in his ears. If you looked, it was Kyori who was muttering even after receiving a fatal wound. Hiyama became anxious and brought his ears close to her mouth, and what he heard was, at the end of the ear, I smile, sacred text. Even with the mortal wound, she completed the first class magic. Kyori magic was casted through the willpower. Hiyama's eyes were wide in astonishment. Kyori herself should have realized that the fatal wound had been inflicted onto her. Despite it all, till the last breath she muttered out with no cries of lament, nor calling out to the name of the precious person. She decided to fight. Kyori had thought about it. He, the person who she fell for, no matter the situation, no matter the opponent, he fought without giving up. If so, then she also wished who stand beside him could not show such ungratefulness. And with barely any consciousness left, with just her strong desire to finish the chanting of magic, it was definitely been completed in exchange for her life. Ripples of light began to spread out from Kaori. In a blink of an eye, it ran throughout the plaza and resulted in a powerful healing for those that were injured. The sword, which were being, the swords were pushed out by the healing light. For regions, the puppet soldiers' movements also became dull. Naturally, the light of healing also affected Kaori. Though the wounds was being healed, the injury that Kaori received was through a vital place, unlike the others. Moreover, as the wound was closing up, Hiyama frantically gouged on her wounds and she wasn't healed at all. With that, Kyori was certain to die. Ah! Kyoki's scream gushed out. With his body healed, he could perform at his best. With that, the shackles that were already cracked were all destroyed as if they were fragile things. At the same time, pure white light radiated intensely from his body. Expressing his anger with the intense torrent of light, Kyoki had raised his stats by magnitude of 5. It was the final derivation of limit breakthrough supremacy dispersal. I'll never forgive you guys. Although the knights were trying to restrain Kyoki, Kyoki easily snatches the swords of the knight which stabbed him and easily cut easily cut the puppets into two. Then held out his hand to retrieve the sacred sword, which was taken from him. The sacred sword rotated throughout the air and flew into Kyoki's hand. Eri was expressionless. The puppet soldiers were rushing at him, but Kyoki easily cut them in two. He shouldn't be able to overcome the feelings of murder, however. Right now, the intense fury of losing a comrade, he recognized that his opponents were already dead, so there was no hesitation in his sword. On the other hand, the front lines group gathered around the other classmates and the fight to protect the stay behind group began. No matter how many they took down, they were still surrounded once again by the puppet soldier. There was also no time to remove the magic ceiling shackles, so their fight was barely based on physical strength. Ryotaro and the Nakayama literally became a meat wall. They deliberately tried to protect the stay behind group which were trembling. Shizuku desperately attempted to get to Kaori's place with a tearful expression. However, just like the Ryotaro and them, she was still in shackles. Waves of puppet soldier attacked and she wasn't able to easily advance ahead. At that time, Kyoki had finally beaten the puppet soldier which surrounded him. With an angered look, Kyoki glared at the Hiyama and Eri and quickly advanced. But there, Eri's trump card which took advantage of Kyoki's weak points appeared. As a result, just as Eri predicted, Kyoki's sword stopped. Kyoki called out towards that trump card in a shaking voice. It can't be. Even Melsa? Right. The reason why Kyoki's sword stopped in its place was because of it was Mel Roginsu, leader of the knights. Kyoki, why are you pointing your sword at me? I didn't teach you such things. Nah, Belsa, I. Kyoki, don't listen. Belsan has already. Shizuku voice scolded at Kyoki, who was shaken. When he regained his senses, Mel's sword was already approaching. Immediately, he used his sacred sword to receive the blow. Along with the terrific shock wave, Kyoki's legs shook, probably wrong, but I think it's somewhat close. It appears that the kingdom's strongest knight has had his has his limiter removed. Melsan, I'm sorry. Although Kyoki's expression twisted in sorrow, he swung his sacred sword in intense waves towards the Meld. Even while dead, Mel's swordsmanship was still great. He barely managed to get by Kyoki's attacks while he used massive dispersal. Because of Mel's appearance, Kyoki's boiling head had cooled down a little. His sacred sword, which ignored the feelings of murder, began to dull. However, even still, Mel shouldn't be able to beat the current Kyoki. Finally, Mel's sword was flung away. Kyoki instantly closed in and side-swept at Mel's neck with his sacred sword. But before the sacred sword dug into Mel's neck, help me, Kyoki. Kyoki's sword stopped unintentionally after hearing Mel's words. Even though it might be impossible, maybe. Mel might not have been actually been killed and was being manipulated. Isn't it still possible to help him? He was unable to throw away such thoughts. This is Kyoki's weak point. In short, it was half-heartedness. If you are going to help, then help. If you are going to kill, then kill. You can choose either one, but resolution and determination are needed. Kyoki had none of that. Based on the information presented to him, a convenient interpretation of the situation occurred. That's why, although he usually doesn't doubt his righteousness, he loses himself at the most crucial times. Meld used his foot to bounce up the knight's sword which was on the ground. In an instant, with the hand which gripped the sword, he once again began to cross swords with Kyoki. However, Kyoki didn't have the overwhelming drive from a while ago. Rather, Meld was the one who was pushing. Gah! After somehow managing through the Meld's attack, Kyoki's body lost its strength and his knees gave out. It was not due to the time limit of the supremacy dispersal. That much time hasn't had passed yet. The incident didn't stop with just that. Finally, he even began to vomit out lots of blood. The blood soaked into the ground, and Kyoki's confusion increased greatly. Phew, it's finally kicking in. It was quite the strong poison, as expected of the Kyokikun. If I didn't prepare the melt sun, I would have lost. Towards Eri's relaxed voice, Kyoki desperately tried to support his body with a questionable expression. Kufufufu. With the cause of the prince kissing the princess, if the princess kisses the prince, he'll fall into the slumber, killed, and become hers. There's that kind of development as well, right? Even I have some preparation in case of emergencies. With those words, Kyoki had realized the kiss that Eri gave him in the beginning. In that moment, she was likely made both of them to take in poison. Eri herself may have taken the antidote earlier. He never would have thought that he would be fed poison through mouth to mouth, let alone able to imagine that someone in love would do. Kyoki once again was reminded of the fact that the Eri that everyone had known was nowhere to be seen. With the poison effects, Kyoki was completely unable to move. Eri laughed out satisfyingly and then turned around to walk towards Kyori once again. Because soon the time limit of the bond soul will be over. Hiyama demanded Eri with an ogre-like form. Kyori was dead and was about to be defiled. With that, Kyoki and Shizuku were both furious with anger, and with a regretting expression, Shizuku was about to charge in straight. However, Eri had already placed her hand over the Kyori. Eri began chanting the spell. After several tens of seconds, the Kyori puppet, which will likely to obey all the Hiyama's words, will be completed. Shizuku and their ex- Shizuku and their expression flared up in anger. Hiyama was laughing loudly, and Eri was smiling with a smirk. Then, a voice which betrayed the battlefield, that was filled with despair and betrayal, rang out. What the heck is going on? It was the boy with white hair and an eye patch, Hajime Nagumo's voice. Towards Hajime's appearance, as if time stopped, everyone's movement ceased. This was because Hajime's ferocious pressure was being emitted. Normally, the puppet soldiers, which had no emotion, shouldn't have stopped due to Hajime's pressure being released out. But Eri, who was their spiritualist, was overwhelmed by the natural feeling of the weak, instinctively concealing themselves as the strong came around, which in turn caused the puppet soldiers to do the same. Hajime was completely unfazed by the hundreds of eyes glaring at him, and he began to check out the surrounding circumstances. A large amount of soldiers and the knights were attacking his classmates. His classmates were grouped up and formed a circle. Mel was in front of Kyoki, who was on the ground and vomiting out blood. Pounding her knee with a black katana in one hand was Shizuku. Eri and Hiyama, who became stiff, and Hiyama, while embracing onto the Kyori, was also holding onto the sword, which secured that Kyori's life had ceased. The moment he saw her appearance, an out of this world terrifying pressure instantly appeared at the plaza. As if insects were crawling throughout their entire bodies, inside it felt like their hearts were being clenched directly and left them uncomfortable. They were trembling frettingly against the presence. Their presence was overwhelmingly death. It was exactly like their blood had frozen. For an instant, their bodies lost its temperature, and heavy murderous intent made them envision their death. In an instant, Hajime's appearance disappeared, and Hajime, who was moving at a pace which no one could comprehend, appeared right beside Skeori with a roaring sound. The roaring sound was caused by Hiyama being flung back and ramming straight into the back wall of the plaza and destroying it. In an instant, Hajime, which kicked Hiyama in the chest and sent him flying without influencing Kaori at all. Normally, one blow would be enough to cause Hiyama's entire body to burst apart. However, because he held back a bit, it only caused numerous bones to break and damage to the internal organs. By now, he should have been fainted in the ball, and once he wakes up again from the pen, the hell would likely once again begin. Hajime held up Kaori with one arm and cleared her face of her hairs. Then, a loud voice he called out to his comrade. Tio, I'm counting on you. Leave it to me. Shirajaki-san? In response to Hajime's request, Tio quickly rushed over towards him. Aiko's expression changes as she also came towards Kaori's side. Once Tio was handed to once Tio was handed Kaori by Hajime, she quickly began chanting. Ha ha ha, it's useless. She's already dead. I would have never expected that you guys would be coming here. No, the moment Kyori appeared, I should have noticed. It seems like it's already over for Hiyama. I'll give it to you. As long as you are not hostile against me, I'll bring Kyori back to life with the magic for you. It wouldn't be a genuine, but she'll stay pretty much like now. It's better than rotting, right? Nay. Radiantly, Eri proposed her suggestion while sweating from her forehead, disregarding Aiko's, whose eyes were opened up wide in astonishment. By his side, Hajime abruptly got up. Eri, who knew of Hajime's strength, held out her hands as she clicked her tongue secretly while emphasizing that Kyori would just rot if left alone. But Hajime's overflowing murderous intent wasn't shaken one bit. Expressionlessly, like wearing a no mask, he slowly walked towards Eri. Wait a bit, Nagumo. Come on, look at the surrounding people. There's not much difference between them and the living. Although it can't be helped that she is dead, at the very least, I could make her like them. Furthermore, I can create a carry that you like. For that, you will absolutely need me. Eri was rapidly speaking as she backed away. Then, at that time, a shadow was running up behind Hajime. A blow from sharp spear, which was incomparable to the other puppet soldiers, shot out at him. The shadow's identity was Condor Reiji. It was a spear user that pitifully killed by the Eri earlier and turned into a puppet. To begin with, although I say puppet, it still exhibited the strength of a cheat which came from a different world. The powerful thrust incorporated with the Condor's class Spear Master was spiraling in the wind straight towards the Hajime's heart. Aha! Carelessness is our greatest enemy, as well as rage. Oh, Harry's expression of impatience was quickly changed into one of dismay, but as if Hajime didn't feel a thing, he continued walking, which caused her expression to cramp up. Hajime was probably already knew what was coming from behind. A mass of red magical power was compressed to the size of a 10 yen coin and completely held off the spear which was thrusted out. It was the derivation of Vajra intensive strengthening. Hajime silently turned his left elbow towards his back and without any hesitation he shot out with his shotgun. A roaring sound resounded, and at the same time, condos who received the attack of the great power at super point blank range in the face had his head turned into small chunks and blown away. The sound of blood splattering and splashing around was heard clearly. Kill him! With a stiff expression, Harry ordered the next puppet soldiers and mailed. Although not as much as Kyoki, Hajime had held some intimacy with Meld. At the Orca's great labyrinth, it was to the point of using a potion to heal him, who was near death. Therefore, she intended to use the chance which exposes itself through the hesitation, just like it did to Kyoki. The puppet soldiers were waiting eagerly for that opening to be exposed. However, that kind of common sense judgment won't work on Hajime. While disregarding the meld who was coming at him, Hajime took out Masarai from the treasure warehouse. All of a sudden, from out of nowhere, a form of brutal weapons appeared and caused everyone present to hold their breath. Immediately, Shujuku shouted out, "Everyone, lie down!" Ryotaro and Nagayama, while crouching down, dragged other students that were still standing onto the ground. Immediately after that, with the unique rotation sounds and the shooting sound resounding out, the incarnation of destruction roared out. It was once used to completely crush all the golems that the liberators manipulated, turned huge crowds of the demons into the sea of blood. The fangs of the demon monsters which offsetted even the silver feathers of the death which God Apostle shot out. That kind of thing was released. There's no way the puppet soldiers would be able to withstand it. The electrically charged bullets weren't lukewarm enough to just be said to have shot with just one person. It went and broke through all the obstacles while blowing away the plaza wall as if it were just a paper, as if it was just a paper trash. While Hajime was as the center, everything was being cut down. The puppet soldiers' bodies were crushed, reduced into lumps of flesh, which scattered around and could not be distinguished at all. Before long, Masarai's roaring sound stopped, and once again the footsteps echoed in the silent plaza. Everyone who was lying down on the ground were motionless. Naturally, the one who was walking after the attack was mobbed down. Everything in its path was Hajime. Everyone else was similarly desperately lowering their heads until the storm passed away. The tip of the shoes appeared in front of Eri's eyes. Eri slowly raised her face. She glanced up at the owner of the shoes. What she saw was the pair of eyes which looked at her as if she was just a pebble in the roadside without any value. Hajime no longer carried Masarai in his hands. He was simply standing above Eri and looking down on her. Eri couldn't say anything and only returned the gaze with an august expression. Then Hajime slowly began to open his mouth. And Hajime had no further intention on what Eri had done. Oh, sorry. Hajime had no further information on what Eri had done. He just simply understood that she was an enemy. If it was simply an enemy, then all he had to do was mercilessly murder it and everything would be end. However, Eri had touched something which she should not have touched. It was already at the point where just killing her wasn't enough anymore. Before she died, she needs to feel the despair. That's why Hajime asked her a question. What else can you do? You can't do anything, huh? Eri accurately understood what he meant and began to tightly grate her teeth. The edge of the lip had cut and blood was dripping down. Up until now, she was the owner of this place. She should have been in the position with an overwhelming advantage. However, in an instant, Hajime had unreasonably overturned that which caused her to hold hatred and awe. The moment that Eri was about to unintentionally curse out passionately at him, the muzzle of a gun was suddenly pushed against her forehead. Eri swallowed up her curses as the quick draw was so quick she wasn't even able to comprehend when it was pulled out. Whatever your motive was, I have no intention in hearing out any of those worthless things. If you have got nothing to left to show, then die. Hajime's fingers began to pull onto the trigger. The Hajime in Eri's eyes right now was someone who would murder even his own classmates himself, and realized that even if she turned Kaori into a puppet, he wouldn't even hesitate. I'm dead. Eri, heard, Eri head was completely filled up with those words. However, Eri's devilish luck seems to have not run out just yet. The moment when Eri's head was about to splatter, a flame blade came flying towards Hajime. Its flames had a considerable amount of power in them. However, it obviously don't work against Hajime. He turned Donner's muzzle towards the flame blade, and with pinpoint accuracy he shot through the core and easily dispersed. Nagumo. From the interior of the dispersing flame blade was the Hiyama, who was covered in wounds, and it was doubtful that he was even capable of human speech anymore, as he was calling out Hajime's name in an odd tone. With a sword in his hand, a large amount of blood was being vomited out of his mouth, and the right shoulder was broken and badly damaged, which hung down, and he aimlessly flung himself at Hajime. He no longer looked like an impudent ogre. Now he only looked like some kind of ugly variant of an creature. Shut up. Hajime braced himself like it was a hassle as Hiyama ran up and performed a worthless kick. Dogon. An explosion sounding like a sonic boom resounded and Hiyama's body was floating in the air. He wasn't blown away just because of He wasn't blown away because the shockwave wasn't allowed to leave his body. Then, as Hiyama was floating in the air, Hajime lifted his leg up towards the sky and swung it down with intense force. It was exactly like a heel drop. It was exactly like his heel drop was an axe swung down to chop the firewood. It mercilessly struck Hiyama's head and threw him into the ground. The ground cracked because of the impact, and Hiyama's fresh blood from his head was splattering into those cracks. Hiyama, who bounced up like a brick, was already wide eyed and lost his consciousness. Anyone who saw him could see that he was already barely alive. However, Hajime had a quality which wouldn't let up. His bouncing head was once again kicked towards the upward. His bouncing head was once again kicked upwards to float in the air. Was something secretly carried out? With that impact, Hiyama regained his consciousness. Hajime gripped Hiyama's neck and raised him into the air. Hiyama was hanging in midair, was violently trash surrounding without power. Hajime, who had inhuman strength, was unfazed. You is not for you. You, Gary would be my. He was overflowing with a grudge and murderous intent. It was shivering to think that the human could fall this low with ugliness. Would an ordinary human divert his eyes away? They would likely be overcome by the feelings of the sickness and run away. However, Hajime did not show any kind of reaction towards Hiyama's. Rather than, on the contrary, Hajime's eyes held pity. No matter if I existed or not, the results would have been the same. At the very least, with your nature, nothing would have happened even if the world was overturned. Is your fault. Don't place the blames on others. The reason you fell so low was your own fault. Even in Japan, even in Japan or over here, you were always the loser, not someone else. It was yourself. All you did was criticize others, everyone else, in dissatisfaction while not shouldering anything for yourself. You are a genuine underdog. I'll kill you. Definitely just you. Hiyama was further enraged and insane from the Hajime's words. After Hajime looked at the underdog who continued to lose himself, he noticed there something in the distance and looked towards it. It was over in that direction that the vanguard of the demons who invaded the kingdom. Hajime returned a call Hajime returned his cold gaze onto Hiyama. Then, once again, he threw him up into the air and with a blow from his artificial arm, he hit where the Hiyama was falling down according to gravity. The rotational force was applied in and with the impact and Hiyama began rotating like a top. Let's test if you can survive or not. It's probably impossible for you. Hajime, who hammered him with a spinning kick, which caused the air to be blown away. Hiyama let out an unpleasant sound and was blown outside of the plaza by a shockwave. Rather than quickly shooting Hiyama to death, Hajime was unconsciously avoiding his vitals and pummeled him up. It wasn't the revenge for dropping him into the abyss. It was the revenge for injuring Kyori. Although he didn't know the amount of although he didn't know the amount of awareness the actual person in question has, Hajime began to think that just killing him off comfortably wasn't enough. That was how he thought of the idea of kicking Hiyama into the crowd of demons, just barely keeping him alive. However, due to dealing with Hiyama, the time he had to kill Eri has shortened. Although Eri didn't run away, an Aurora was shot at Hajime. Hajime jumped back while clicking his tongue and used Donut to shoot where the Aurora had come from. Three explosions roared out simultaneously. Like a dragon climbing up from the waterfall of Aurora, three flashes tore through the sky. Immediately afterwards, the Aurora's trajectory bent and it nearly bagged Kyoki, but thanks to Eri, they managed to evade somehow. Even for Eri, it would be a bad joke that she wouldn't want any part in it if Kyoki was completely wiped out due to the friendly fire. Soon the aurora calmed down and the Freed descended down from his on his white dragon. That's enough, boy with white hair. If you don't want to lose any more of your precious compatriots and kingdom citizens, then settle down. It appears that Freed was under the misconception that Hajime was fighting for Kyoki and them for the kingdom. If you looked around the surroundings area, you noticed that the demons had already surrounded Ryotaro and them, Shizuku, and aiming at Tio and Aiko. If Hajime and them seriously fought back, there would be a great deal of collateral damage, so they decided to take on hostages instead. Although Hajime didn't know that Freed was already severely injured by UA, Freed realized that and used this as a last resort. It should be noticed that the wound caused by UA, although far from being completely healed, it was healed by the White Crow's inherent magic. Then, at the same time, as if something happened to the Kaori, Tio called out loudly to Hajime, Master, I have somehow fixed it for now. However, any more than this will take time. If possible, I'd like to have US cooperation as well. We can't leave it as a temporary fix forever. Hajime nodded powerfully as he looked behind over his shoulder at Tio. The classmate who didn't understand the circumstances had dubious expression. However, Freed, who also had the edge of God's magic, had somehow managed to guess. He looked at Tio's magic with wide eyes. Hoo hoo! New edge of God's magic. By any chance, is it Kamiyama's? Then, it would do you well to tell me its location. If you defy me, then the moment that Freed tried to threaten Hajime and them for the location of Kamiyama's great labyrinth, the flames erupted from Donna. Immediately, the turtle-type demon set up a barrier and somehow managed to endure it from being completely destroyed. Freed narrowed his eyes and the surrounding demons closed in more. What's the meaning of this? Are your compatriots' lives not important? The more you guys resist, the more the kingdom citizens will suffer you as well. Or are you such a fool that you can't comprehend that? There are 100,000 monsters at the outer wall, and on the other side of the gate is 1 million demons. No matter how strong you guys are, continuing to fight while protecting everything is. Hajime, who received those words, turned his cold eyes away from feet towards the outside of the kingdom. An army of 100,000 was trying to invade into the kingdom. Then, he silently took out the induction stone that was at the size of its fist out of the treasure warehouse. He activated the induction stone while disregarding Freed's dubious expression and emitted the light which was incomparable to the ring which manipulated the crossbred. Freed, who started feeling the intense breath premonition, immediately shot an aurora towards Hajime. However, Hajime's donor kept them in check. As a result, he was able to activate the device. The light of condemnation poured down from the sky. The pillar of light, which was the representative which connected the sky and the ground, whatever it touched, no matter the race, sex, nor the social class, everything it was mercilessly destroyed and erased, burning up the atmosphere and the tearing through the darkness as if it was the daylight, sun rays. The targets were mobbed down. Gua! The pillar of light, as if investigating, let out a roar as it struck down onto the earth. The diameter was around 50 meters. Demons, Mojinjoku, and the living organisms alike were all evaporated under the light without exception. The shock waves and the heat waves were intensely scattering destruction on its surrounding. When Hajime poured more magical power into the induction stone in his hand, the pillar of light moved through and mobbed on all the demons and the Mozenjoku that were fleeing away on foot. Defending was useless. Evading was useless. That was unless you could travel through space like Freed. It would be impossible for the organism who ran on foot to get away. The demons and Mojinjoku who were trying to invade the outer wall of the pillar saw the pillar of the light approaching and they all began to panic. They desperately tried to advance onwards into the kingdom madly. The light of pillar zigzagged along and trampled the huge army. Everything up until the outer walls were eradicated and dispersed into the void. All that was left was the smoke which rose from the where the earth was scorched and enormous crater, as well as the deep scars which carved into the earth. The Mojinjoku who managed to just barely make it in time into the kingdom weren't relieved, just sitting down with their comrades and surprised that their army had completely vanished in an instant. With that, Fried and Eri, who were in front of him, Shizuku and everyone else as well, their thinking stopped as well as spacing out in utter amazement. The foolish one is you big fool. When exactly did I say that allied with the kingdom or these guys here? Don't just selfishly categorize me with them. If you want a war, then go right ahead. However, if you get in my way, just like now, I'll erase everything. I'm not free enough to waste my time on 1 million opponents though. This time around, I'll let you off, so hurry up with the remaining forces and get lost. You're the commander of the army, right? It was hard to object after his comrades were obliterated in an instant. Freed eyes were dead in anger and hatred. However, even if he created a gate and allowed his huge army to come through, he had no information on the pillar of light which Hajime had shot. It would be only cause to making those same mistakes again. That alone must be avoided at all cost. Although it was vexing for Hajime as well to let him get away, right now was necessary to treat Kyori as soon as possible. If time goes on, they'll lose the upper hand. Much like doing something for the first time, he was completely winging it. Furthermore, the blow from the previous light was actually a weapon in its prototype stage. After that annihilation weapon, after that one shot, it had already broken. Without the annihilation weapon, he have no time to deal with the million demons. It would be bad idea to kill the Freed who was the commander of the army. Freed, who doesn't know of that, bit down onto his lips and clenched his fists so hard with rage that it started bleeding. He was thinking that he could no longer continue sacrificing his people, and while opening a gate, he replied back full of grudge. I'll definitely repay this debt. Only you. In my God's name, I'll definitely destroy you. As Freed was turning back, he glanced at Eri to urge to get onto the white dragon. Eri looked at the Kyoki who was surviving due to his strong status and smiled at him with a smile filled of obvious obsessiveness and insanity. Even without words, you know. It was a look that was filled with will of obtaining Kyoki no matter what. At the same time that Freed and Eri who were on the white dragons passed through the gate, three bursts of magic lit up and roared through the sky. It was probably the retreat signal. At the same time, Yu and Shia came down from the sky with a great force. No, Hajime, where's that ugly man? Hajime-san, where's that scoundrel? It appears that both of them were chasing after the Freed to bait him. They probably already knew that the pillar of light was due to Hajime, so they didn't ask. However, right now they didn't have any time to deal with those simpler matters. Hajime told Yue and Shia about Kyori's death. Both of them opened their eyes up in surprise. However, after looking at the Hajime's eyes, which contained a spirit, they immediately recovered. And then Hajime asked for Yue's help with these eyes. Yue accurately understood what she needed to do, and with few powerful words, leave it to me. She nodded, then turned around and rushed towards Tio. Then Hajime held on to Kyori in a princess carry position and intended to leave the plaza straight away. However, just then, Shizuku called out to Hajime while staggering up with a desperate expression. Nagumokun, Kyori is about Kyori. What should I? Shizuku seemed to have been exhausted to a state which was never seen before. With such a grievous expression, if left alone, she may suffer from mental illness. During battle, her tensed heart was able to support her. However, now that that was gone, she probably would be tormented in pain if of her best friend's death. Hajime entrusted Kiori to Shia and told her to go ahead with Tio. You and them who sympathized who sympathized with Shizuku's expression, left the plaza while being guided by Tio. His classmates were still in a state of unable to move. Hajime went and dropped a knee before Shizuku, who was sitting like a girl with her head dropped, and with both hands sandwiching the Shizuku's cheek, he forced her to look up until their sides aligned. Yagashi, don't break. Believe in us and wait. I'll let you two meet again without a fail. Nagumo-kun? Shizuku's eyes, which had lost its light, only bit power had power had returned. Then their Hajime laughed while saying things which sounded like a joke. If Yaigashi becomes like this, we'll take care of all the trouble things in the future. What will happen if Kyori saw the broken Yaigashi? Please give me a break. I'm not a problem-loving human like Yaigashi. If who's the problem-loving human Baka? Believing that is fun, right? Hajime smiled with an earnest expression and nodded firmly. Up close, Shizuko was staring into Hajime's shining eyes, and she understood that he was serious. He was seriously trying to do something about Kyori, who had already died. Within those strong willed eyes, Shizuko felt that her frozen heart melted a bit. The light within Shizuko's eyes further increased, and just like Hajime did, she nodded powerfully. Then then the will to believe in Hajime and them appeared from within. After confirming that Shizuku's risk of breaking down mentally has lowered dramatically, Hajime removed the test tube container out of the treasure box warehouse and placed it in Shizuku's hands. This is let the other childhood friends drink it. He is quite a bad chef. After Hajime's words, Shizuku glanced towards the Kyoki who was lying on the ground. Kyoki had already lost consciousness. He was visibly weakened. She recalled that the holy water which Hajime handed her once used to immediately heal the meld who was about to die, and presumed that it was the most effective medicine out of all the other medicine. As for Hajime, he would be troubled if Shizuku broken down if Kyoki dies, even after he said all that he died to her. He did to her. After looking at Shizuku's expression, it appears that she was more thankful than expected. Then Shizuku tightly grasped the container of holy water. She looked at Hajime with moistened eyes and said the words of thanks. Thank you, Nagumo-kun. As soon as Hajime received those words of thanks, he immediately turned around. Then he started chasing after you and them like a wind. Okay, guys, this concludes this chapter. And I know Kaori died, and at least we got to see the Hiyama's death. We all wanted to see that from the very beginning. And although it was in a different way, at least he will die. He was thrown into the demons and he will definitely die. He won't survive, though Ariel was able to escape. That's something I regret, but let's make do with it. She will probably get her punishment later in the story. Probably much later, not right now. That's a spoiler for you, but anyways, see you in the next chapter in the next video.